So let's get on with some stuff. We're going to skip the news anyway, so we can get in as much information as we can. Let's start off. The would-be Trump assassin, Ryan Wesley Ralph, or Roof, or however you want to call him, had many links to the CIA. He was clearly a subversive military recruiter for Ukraine, and he had been arrested previously for a litany of crimes, including possession of a weapon of mass destruction, but never served a day behind bars. Did the CIA attempt to kill Donald J. Trump in broad daylight?
No, I don't think so. And there are three reasons why. Number one, because first of all, the weapon of mass destruction, he was charged for owning an unstamped fully automatic weapon, which he did not build. So as a guy who's built several fully automatic weapons, actually the English Sten Mark II that aren't stamped, as long as I don't sell them, I'm legal to have them. I don't necessarily find that a kind of a weapon of mass destruction style crime. Besides, people don't usually serve jail time for that specifically. Usually you just get a pretty hefty fine. Number two, the CIA is far better at their job than some goober waiting outside the bushes and not even getting a shot off, much less giving him a scoped AK-47 style rifle. If I was going to choose the assassination weapon of choice, that's like 814th on the list, far down. Probably lastly, I'd say that as far as Ukraine is concerned, Trump has actually shown himself to be far more willing to provide unmitigated aid to the Ukrainian war effort as far as providing access to long-range weapons and technology and things that the Biden administration has actually slow-walked. So I'm not sure that particularly holds up. It just seems like this guy was kind of a left-wing loon who, again, like the last guy, is crazy enough to try something like this, but not really intelligent enough to pull it off.
I think the list, though, is that he had 27 different arrests. Is something along those lines. There's 27 different arrests and not one bit of time served. Isn't that a little bit suspicious there?
Well, it depends on the way that the crimes were charged. I mean, I've certainly had no arrests on my record, but I've worked in investigative cases in which there have been individuals who have been arrested a full litany of times for different crimes that aren't considered in the American legal system. You don't just take a traffic crime over here and jaywalking over here and then build all of them up until, oh, you've reached your crime limit, now you're going to jail. The different states and principalities don't exactly add up certain crimes in the same way. I'm not saying that this guy should have been out there. Again, he was known to the FBI for some time, but I believe that in this particular instance, it's a case of the failure of the FBI to track active threats rather than actually focusing on kind of a broader conspiracy at this point that right now I would very more quickly believe that he was paid off by Iran than I would Ukraine.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that would be quite a jump because he seems to be very pro-American in that sense, or at least pro-establishment American, whatever we'd like to call that. What do you say to people like Mike Benz, who believes that this guy was working for the CIA then?
Well, I certainly haven't heard Pence's comments on that. If former vice president and Mike Benz.
Oh,
Ben, I was going to say I haven't heard that. As far as working for the CIA, I haven't seen any evidence that suggests that. I've seen people throw out their theories, but again, the Central Intelligence Agency, love them or hate them, they are much better at their job when it comes to assassinations and kind of blacklist operations. It's so easy these days to just jump for the conspiracy rather than actually looking at what's in front of you. Because some conspiracy theories have turned out to be true, it's kind of become the Monopoly get out of jail free card to say, see, it's the CIA. No, I mean, I just got to tell you, the CIA covers their tracks a lot better than that. As garbage of an organization as they often are. I mean, it's, like accusing an NFL team, or excuse me, it's like accusing a world premier team of playing like the local, primary school football club.
Yeah, but if they were able to cover their tracks that well, then that would explain why the tracks are hard to find in many cases. But they are very active, aren't they? And they don't necessarily fund the most sane people historically speaking, there's been a lot of that with intelligence services. So I'm not surprised. Again, we'll go on. Trump rallies are even more popular now than they were before the assassination attempts. Does the deep state attempts to eliminate him only make him stronger? If it was the deep state, whoever was responsible, does it only make him stronger?
I think in the eyes of the average American, it certainly does give him a lot more credibility that there are individuals that are desperate to stop him. There's been a cultural narrative over the last couple of years that Trump is the ultimate resurrection of super Hitler, Satan, whatever, the ultimate evil, and that he's going to be the end of democracy in this particular republic. And so that has driven a lot of people to do extremely stupid, evil, and insane things towards him. So that definitely helps him because Trump comes out and says they're after me. And so that, these situations do help that cause. But honestly, Johnny, I'm not sure if the rally numbers are necessarily driven by that. Trump is just a very popular with the working class kind of guy. He's resurrected the 90s Labor Democrat coalition for the right side of the aisle in a way that we've never seen in American politics.
Yeah. Okay, right. Do you think Trump will make it till November?
Yeah.
You think he'll still be here?
God willing, I think so. I've suggested at this point that there really should be either Governor Abbott of Texas or Governor DeSantis of Florida, who should just assign a contingent of state police to do the rest of the perimeter checks that the Secret Service apparently don't have the manpower to do. I don't care if he's on, if he's in a place the size of a 3-room flat, or if he's in an area the size of a, massive, football field. It doesn't matter. He needs to have a complete perimeter set up because there are active threats against him. And every major presidential candidate should have that protection. I don't even know why that's a debate in the halls of Congress.
Yeah, okay. And now there's we've seen a brazen military attack in Lebanon with thousands of pagers and walkie-talkies exploding, seemingly targeting Hezbollah fighters, but also having civilian casualties, including reports of a 9-year-old girl being killed. There's a lot of folks speculating about the attacks, but what do you think happened?
So the Israeli Mossad, which is an effective intelligence agency, after being hit with a lot of rockets from southern Lebanon, which the UN ruled that Hezbollah is not allowed to operate in since 2006, Israel intercepted or provided a group of pagers after the Hezbollah fighters, after the assassination of one of their leaders in Beirut in February, decided cell phones aren't safe, let's switch to pagers. And so either the Israeli Mossad provided modified pagers, and by modified pagers, I mean a layer of PETN detonation paste. I've used PETN det cord back when I was doing military things. It's a very common explosive that can be touched off by heat. And so they basically program these pagers that when you get a call from this particular number, the battery heats up enough, and then presto. And what resulted were the injuries of over 2,700 suspected Hezbollah terrorists, judging by the individuals who were directly given these pagers by the Hezbollah leadership.
Yeah, the fact that this attack used 3,000 of the same pagers and walkie-talkies points at explosives or some form of paste, as you say, being planted inside the equipment before they were supplied to Lebanese. However, many accounts, lots of accounts, are pushing that Israel have developed a way just to blow up lithium-ion batteries on your device, and this is doing the rounds at the moment. Well, what do you think to these sort of narratives? Because I find them completely and utterly crazy. Yeah.
It's utter rubbish. I mean, again,
but it's the big accounts go pushing this stuff at the moment.
Well, yeah, because it drives clicks. It does. And the idea is that there's some kind of super masterful, what if they're on a commercial flight? First of all, this was a very targeted operation. There is no blowing up specific. There's no physical or chemical method that we've developed that can point not within line of sight some type of beam, some type of signal that a lithium-ion battery cause it to superheat, leak, and explode in a way that would act like those explosions. By the way, in a way that wouldn't already have your pants literally on fire if you were shining some kind of directed energy or magnetic style beam. So Yeah, I think you're right there. There's an easier explanation that there's evidence for, and I don't just mean the evidence of X accounts that posted some file that Al Jazeera sent them.
Now, airline companies are reacting as they do with everything like this, as though it's been systematically and scientifically proven that lithium batteries can be used to blow up electronics from a distance. Wouldn't this be a perfect ruse to reduce air travel as well?
I mean, I suppose you can look at cultural application to political occurrence here in the Middle East as well as in Western Europe and the United States. At any time, you can say, well, this could happen, so therefore we have a responsibility to ban this kind of thing, whether it's the amount of air travel, etc. I don't think that lithium ion batteries or lithium silisulfate batteries are in a position that could be detonated without some type of external. And PET in detonation cord and paste is extremely detectable in every single airport security measure, from dogs to the hypersonic and X-ray scanners that are used in the American TSA, for example.
Yeah, this is what I've been saying to a lot of people, is that the reason why this was so possible is because Lebanese infrastructure doesn't really have the best technology to be able to detect such things, and they've obviously slipped in under the radar. Are you go on?
Hezbollah, I would say, not Lebanese. The Lebanese government, especially in the northern part of Lebanon, actually do have the type of infrastructure and equipment. The Hezbollah terrorist organization did not go through proper Lebanese economic channels to purchase these pagers. Otherwise, they probably would have gotten something safer. They used a black market contact, and well, they kind of suffered the consequences.
Well, last time we spoke, because I mean, it's hard for really people to separate the actors like Hezbollah and the Lebanese government when they're really acting on the land and they look like they're representatives of the government, etc. And the same, last time we spoke, I explained that Hamas had been a creation of Israel and it was a bone of contention. However, the facts have been reported, like, for instance, The Intercept, who pointed at Avner Cohen, quote, who was a former Israel religious affairs officer who worked in Gaza for more than 2 decades and told the Wall Street Journal in 2009, Hamas, to my great regret, is Israel's creation. An NPR journalist also reported the fact, was later killed. The Japan Times backs up this claim in an article entitled Israel's Historic Role in the Rise of Hamas. Reuters also reported the same, as did the Middle East Monitor, Times of Israel, Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, Euronews, New York Times, and there's even a Wikipedia page entitled Israeli Support for Hamas. So my question is Israel creating its own nightmares at times?
No, it's not. And the reason I would suggest that is because a religious affairs officer, to make that kind of a claim, is not some type of dedicated, amazing source inside intelligence agencies.
It's not only the religious. That's one quote of many quotes
that you pointed out.
Yeah, but I also pointed at articles from Reuters, Middle East Monitor, the Times of Israel, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, Euronews, New York Times.
So
they've all given basically the same rundown of Hamas's creation being at the hands of Israel.
No, they have not. So posting an opinion piece or citing speculation is not editorially or definitively saying Israel created Hamas. Otherwise, when you would see articles today, they would say, according to our report back in 2020, whatever, Hamas is obviously no. So that's what's called the practical implication.
These weren't opinion pieces. These weren't opinion pieces.
Citing speculation does not editorial research.
It is backed up by details. These articles
you got to give me
lots
some of these
details.
I mean, just
okay. Well, I can send you list of articles, but it's really easy to do. Even if you typed into Google, "Did Israel create Hamas?" What you're going to find back is all of these articles from very big platforms who explain in details, in many different ways, from many different sources, the fact that Israel were very responsible as a way to stop from the more socialist and more moderate leaders in Gaza from ruling. They wanted to create something that they could control and they could would be more beneficial to them. And so this is something that is noted everywhere. It's not just one place.
So first of all, something being noted in multiple places does not give it definitive proof. I have read some of the articles, not from the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, but I have read some of the articles that have been sent before from individuals claiming that Hamas was somehow created by Israel. And the evidence does not in any way, shape, or form add up. A lot of cases in which people have said, well, there was this defector from Israel who went and told the entire world, and then it found out that some of these individuals never worked for the Israeli government, and they're just nuts. Individuals who have claimed that Israel had some type of a hand in funding Hamas. Iran itself has actually disputed this claim and said, no, that as far as our proxy networks and militias are concerned, we've been involved with Hamas since the beginning. The Hamas charter itself lays out a very specific number of reasons why Israel absolutely had no role in playing with it. The idea that Israel is, at least from the Mossad standpoint, is simultaneously upholding Hamas while family members and Mossad agents are also dying to Hamas. I got to tell you,
sounds like the Hannibal Directive. It sounds like the Hannibal Directive. It sounds like something like that. An acceptance that you're going to have loss so that you can have a gain politically. And
but you don't sacrifice yourself for the political gain. That's the problem.
So why does a Hannibal Directive exist?
So you're conflating something completely different with the,
well, we're talking.
Mossad.
I mean, that's on the point of that. Of what
making a political theory point doesn't actually just because something exists, like just because a plot point in a movie can exist, doesn't mean that it can be applied to any situation in which the chess pieces
Israel
have the same shape.
Have a directive of executing their own people if instead of having to go through hostage negotiations. That's not a political point. That's a fact.
You're going to have to be a little more clear on what you mean by executing civilians to avoid hostage negotiations. That's a serious claim to make.
Well, that is the Hannibal Directive, though, isn't it? And it's well reported, not only in just one place, but in many places. And that's not me reporting that. I mean, you can shoot the messenger on this account, but it wouldn't.
I'm just going to need specific data. Just saying, well, many sources say this. That doesn't function. That doesn't actually provide basis for the argument.
It's a military directive of Israel, Tony. I mean, listen, we're out of time anyway. I'd love to discuss this more. This type of debate, I think, is needed. Two people who disagree with something. I would love to have a proper long sit down. I mean, TNT runs until tomorrow, but I would love to have you on my own podcast, and I would love to send you all of this information and we can go through it one after another, because I think it's really important that we have this conversation. This is a massively important conversation. So for the time being, unfortunately, we'll have to end it there, but I really do appreciate you coming on, Tony. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you very much for your work at TNT.